there's two major sides to me. Major. I have my intensity and I have my compassion. And what people call me is a teddy bear with combat boots. Because
Okay.
essentially, how I show up is first with the intensity. And if you can accept the intensity, then I will give you the other side, which is the compassion. But you got to first be able to understand that the intensity to me is if I can give you the truth and you're willing to hear it, then of course I'm going to listen to everything that you have to say. But if you're going to get defensive straight off the
Mm-hmm.
intensity,
Mm-hmm.
you're not ready for my compassion. You
Ooh.
first need more slaps across the face.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Purpose Over Pleasure podcast, number one podcast about masculinity, freedom, and entrepreneurship. And I'm your host, Alex Payne. And today we have the pleasure of speaking to the one and only Snez V, right? An
What is up?
amazing person, one and only, one and only. Like I said, she is a gym owner and an online coach, and overall a fantastic person, a great achiever. I've followed you for a minute from my personal page to now my business page, and you've grown throughout the time. And I've I'm very happy to see, your work in progress and what you became and how much you're changing people's lives and influencing people. So, without further ado, let's jump right into it. Thank you for being here.
All right. I'm super, super excited, and I appreciate that you've not only followed me but watched my journey. It's one thing to just spot someone, but it is something more to actually watch them and see that there's so much more than just like the face value. So I appreciate that.
Of course, 100%. Speaking of that, you just brought yourself into the situation by forcing me to ask you this question because I followed you and I saw this journey. Everything we see on social media, right? It's kind of like one-sided, right? We see the mostly the success and what the people do and what they love doing, but there's a lot more darkness behind it. And the first time I heard it, it was in that lecture that you gave during the Misogi, and I loved it. So let's jump right into that.
Great.
So let's talk about the pain, the stuff that nobody sees, the stuff that everybody assumes that never happens. That I want to talk about.
Yeah.
So what's the pain? What's the journey behind Snatch?
Well, I mean, there's so much to my life that I've experienced, and I guess it would probably more so started when I was younger, really young, in fact, because I didn't speak English very well until I was, I don't know, probably about 10, or close between 8 and 10 years old. So English was my second language,
And your first language is
Macedonian.
Macedonian.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So, but most not because I was born there, but it was actually just because that was a language that was spoken at home.
Mm-hmm.
So, it did I found it hard at school to have easier connections, I guess, because for me, everyone is there and they can connect so well because they can speak to each other. Me, it was a little bit harder, and I was also very into sports, which at the time, like girls weren't as much into sports. Now they are, which is great. But when I was into sports, it was like girls don't play that sport. That's what you heard, and especially because I played soccer, and so I did it anyway. And then the whole tomboy thing comes up, which was kind of like I don't even know if that's a thing anymore. I hope it's not, but that was a big thing back then. So then that kind of created a little bit of bullying, and then from there, I got into the sport really heavily. Started playing soccer a lot more, and then I unfortunately was in a car accident when I was 10. That was really tough because my whole family was in a car accident at that point, and that was my very first time where I had to actually undergo a surgery, my first surgery. And it wasn't anything crazy, but it was a surgery. When you're that young, you don't understand anything about healing, you don't understand anything about anything, and especially like anesthesia and all that stuff. So I had to undergo like a very short, small surgery at that point, but then it kind of like taught me how to kind of understand my body. So once I started to, you know, think about the physicality side of things, at 13, I saw that my brother was going to the gym, and I was like, that's great. I want to go to the gym. But again, girls didn't go to the gym. They
Mm-hmm.
also didn't play male
Mm-hmm.
driven sports.
Mm-hmm.
So, a male driven sport being soccer. And I thought, well, I'm going to do both of those. So, as my brother went to the gym, I asked for my birthday for a gym membership. And so I went and I just did whatever he did. And so that kind of led me to, doing, I guess, going against the grain. So I was like the black sheep, essentially, which obviously you're going to run into a lot of issues because you're not like everyone else.
Oh yeah.
And that's okay. So I did that. And then I got into another car accident. Unfortunately, as I'm going through my years at this point, I'm starting to think about turning pro. So much of my life had changed, and I was only 18 years old. So at this point, I was really starting to have a hard time because everything started to compile. The bullying started to come out. Me being like the odd one out started to come out, and I started to get really insecure. And not in a way that was like I tried to be something else. I was just insecure in the fact that I had a lot of negative thoughts. But I would not share those with anyone because, again, at this point, mental health was not a thing. Being depressed was not a thing. If you felt bad, you didn't speak about it. Now everyone overspeaks about it.
Yeah.
So I didn't speak about it. And I remember when I was 18 and I started getting like really affected and I allowed people to affect me. It was actually the very first point where I hit like a rock bottom point. And it was a rock bottom point where I was at college. Friends were horrible, boyfriends were horrible. Whatever was going on affected me so much that I actually attempted to take my life first time when I was 18 years old. And then I thought, I'll bounce back from that. And I did. I bounced back from it and I continued to my journey. I decided to go into, fitness properly. I decided to go to university. I decided to go all in on my sport. And again, at this point, women aren't getting paid because women don't play sport and they shouldn't get paid for sport at this point. So I did professional soccer on a very, very minimal amount of money. I went to university full time and I worked a lot. Over the course of time, that teaches you how to just work hard. It doesn't really provide as much as what it could. It just teaches you a lot to just keep doing, which is part of the problem that we have now of the whole doing mentality. Just do more and more and more. And so as I did more and more and I wasn't seeing as much of a return, you start to question yourself. And so as you're questioning yourself, you start to think, well, I'm not sure if I'm adding any value to my life, let alone anyone else's. And so I start to also fall back into that point of it's not good enough. So if it wasn't good enough when I was 18, it's still not good enough when I'm 23, no matter what I'm doing, who I'm doing it for. So then I found another rock bottom point where, again, I tried to take my life and bounce back from that. And I decided to continue my path, stay in the pro league, keep doing what I'm doing. And then I hit my first major injury, which was one of my ankles. I ended up having a surgery for that. And then I continued my path again. I tried to make it come back, and then I tore my ACL. And at the first time I tore my ACL, I thought, well, this is it. Like if I don't have a purpose in playing soccer, I don't have a purpose at all. And I wasn't as heavily into providing value for people in terms of their health. Like I loved being a trainer and I loved, helping people with their nutrition, but it wasn't really as deep as what it is today. So if you don't have soccer, you don't have anything, right? So all purpose goes out the window. And so for 12 months, I was miserable. Like every single thing was bothering me, especially because I couldn't walk properly. I couldn't do anything that I knew how to do. I had done 6 different damages on that one tackle. And I thought, that means my career's over. This is my 7th year in the pro league. Maybe this is it for me. I'm 26 years old at this point. And I thought, you know what, I'll make a comeback. But I didn't do it right. I didn't do half of the work that I should have done. And most of that work is the mental work. So you can do all the rehab in the world for anything in life, but unless your mentality is not aligning, there's no point. So I try to make a comeback to soccer. Second game in, I re-tear my ACL. I thought, okay, there's clearly a message here. I need to have a better approach to my recovery from a mental standpoint. I also need to focus on what's the next step? Like, what is it that's missing in my life? And so I didn't still do some of the healing that I needed to do. So it was still kind of lingering in the background there. And so at the time I had my career had taken me a lot. Like I was, flying to Tokyo. I was coming over to the States. I was playing for different leagues and different teams, and I was getting a lot of exposure. It was great. Although it still doesn't help when you're in the limelight, but you're not dealing with the demons, which is what everyone says. So after the second ACL reconstruction, I decided I'm going to leave the sport and I'm okay. I'm ready to go. But what I am going to do is I'm going to take a leap of faith. I'm going to move to the US. I had a job lined up. I had a relationship at the time. So I came over here. I had found out that I'd been cheated on for a year. The job that I had lined up, I got fired from within 2 months. So I was like left with nothing. I had no teammates. I had no soccer team. I had no family. I had no friends. I had no relationship and no relation, like nothing. So that was a final point for me. So that was the third time that I was like, pretty much fuck it. I don't need to be here anymore. I don't need to be back home, but I don't need to be living anymore. And that was the final point where I really like hit rock bottom. And again, I tried to take my life, but it was the third and final time. And it was like that whole everything comes in threes. And I truly believe in that, because I think when you hit it 3 times in the span of like almost 10 years, you start to realize that you never dealt with it on the first time. You never truly dealt with it the second time. And this is the third and final. So I found myself a therapist that I worked with for 18 months. It was incredible because he uncovered a lot for me. At this point, I also had to do a lot of internal work. And once I actually tapped into the internal work, I understood how so much of the physical pain that I was feeling was a lot because of what was going on internally. So more and more things started coming up. I had to have more surgeries during this time. I had to rebuild myself. I had to really build my mental health, my physical health, my spiritual health. Every single thing needed to be built for me to then get to where I am today. And so I spent a good 2 to 3 years truly dedicating myself to healing, to building, more so my health empire. And I remember saying this to people at the time, I'm going to build my health empire before I build any other empire out there. So it's health before wealth, and if anyone believes it to be the other way around, they'll never win. And so I did that, and I spent a lot of time doing that. And yes, there's details in amongst all of that, and I'm willing, and if you want to share ask me any questions, and I can share any of that, more than happy to. But that's kind of like the gist of what has helped build me to who I am today. So the mindset and the mental toughness that I have really comes from all of the ground level that I had to really experience, but also the people that helped me along the way. I'm not self-made. I have had coaches and mentors and friends and people that have been there when I was at my lowest to pick me up and make sure that I keep going. So I'm very much aware that everything that I am today is basically the sum of the experiences, but also the communications and the connections with others.
Wow. I got questions.
I'm sure you do.
I don't know where to start. I was just like, at some point I had to like, okay, now I have 4 questions in my head, and I can't keep track. I'm just gonna start writing it down. Dude, what a story! What a story!
Yeah.
I think hitting the rock bottom is a must. It's
For
almost
sure.
like a must for everyone. But some people unfortunately just stay there or go with the flow, but it doesn't really end up well.
No one's truly at the bottom. They think they are.
Mm-hmm.
No one's actually there. Because when you're actually there, you make a move. You either leave, you either end, or you go somewhere better.
Wow.
That's it.
No one's truly at the bottom. Okay.
No way.
Why do you think when you're really at the bottom is that's just the way you take action?
Well,
Either direction, make difference,
yeah.
or just end it.
I'll say it like this because I've seen and experienced many people who suffer from depression, anxiety, and obviously now people say like, "Oh my gosh, that brings me so much anxiety." That's what you hear, right? You're just like, you shouldn't be saying it like that.
You have no idea how often
right?
I hear that.
Yeah, and it's like you want to slap people across the face because it's like you fucking are not anxious.
She's my type of people.
Yeah. I think that's the hardest part though, because now it's just it's a word that people throw around. Like it was so uncomfortable for me to truly sit in a room with someone and talk about what I was feeling and say, I think I'm depressed. Like I truly think I am depressed. Like I feel it. And there is a much stronger sense of like pain that comes with when you're at the rock bottom. Like you truly don't feel much. You feel numb. You feel numb to what people say, what people are doing, to your thoughts. You're completely numb. This is why people commit suicide. They're ready to go. That's how you know. And I've experienced, unfortunately, family members that have been that ready to go that they did it. And it was unfortunate that they did. And it was hard. But they were so ready to go that was the move they made. So when you are that low, you have 2 choices. That's it. There's no third choice. The third choice is, I'll just stay here. But that's not a thing. that means you're not ready. That means that you're probably close to the bottom, and one more thing might tip you over the edge, or one more thing might get you so low that you go, I need a therapist. Because that's what happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
Someone saved me, and I remember so vividly walking into a room going, I fucking need help. That's it. That was it. I fucking need help. That was the move I made. Because I decided, number one, I'm going to live, and number two, I'm going to live better. So people that think that they're at the bottom, they're not fucking there.
Okay. Wow. You know, you're not the first person to sit in that chair and tell me about when you become numb, that's when you take action. One or two ways. So, yes, have I been depressed? Yes. Never tried to commit suicide. Almost killed myself a few times doing dumb shit. But I do believe you guys, you and the other person who said that, because, you know, he tried it twice, you tried it 3 times. So that's crazy. So the feeling of numbness, that's we just don't care.
Yeah, and it's hard to explain it, but I'm sure others that maybe find themselves, it's come and gone a little bit. It's a hard thing to really comprehend because in your mind, you're not connected to anything. There's no connection. There's no connection to God. There's no connection to your body. There's no connection to other people. So what exactly are you here for when you have no connection? Like, life is rooted in connection with something, with a higher source, higher power, with others. That's where life is. But if you have no connection to energy, you're dead. And people are walking on this earth right now, dead, but there's walking.
Yeah, what's the drifter?
Yes.
Drifter.
The drifter,
Outweighing the
there you
devil. Yeah. Can you talk about, you know, what were the attempts? What was your route?
Yeah, for sure. So the first one that I did, or that I attempted, was I took a bunch of sleeping tablets and then I drank, which I'm not a drinker. But at 18 years old in Australia, you're allowed to drink, so you can go and buy alcohol.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. That explains a lot about you guys.
Yeah, well, yeah. So, yeah, I took a bunch of that, and I was in the middle of school. Like, I was in the parking lot at school when I tried to do that, and then my friend caught me, and she's like, what the fuck are you doing? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. So that was the first attempt. But then, you know, the great thing was that they had counselors at school, so I could go to the counselor. But I only did it like maybe 3 times. That's not enough, right?
Yeah.
That's like someone saying I'm going to fix my diet in 20 days. It's not enough. You know that therapy takes a long time, right? It takes months, sometimes years. So that was the first time. Second time, I was planning on hanging myself. And again, I got actually pulled up by a cop, which is funny because they're like, where are you going? I was like, fuck. You know, I was like, someone called you to try and find me. And this was when I was back home. And I live in a small town, so it wasn't hard to find me. You know, I'm the only person in my car that has my name on it. So, yeah, that happened. And then the third time was I was driving at least 110 on the freeway and just hoping I would hit something.
Oh, that would do it.
It would have, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it.
So, yeah, I'm sure. So, but again, I got pulled down. And you have to also listen to that. The people that are trying to save you are also sending a message to something bigger than you.
That if people are trying to save you are sending a message to someone bigger than you.
Yes.
Okay, I believe in that. Kind of gives you an idea, right? If I'm not doing this for me, I got to do it for somebody else too.
Yeah.
Because the suicide, I tell you what, from a personal experience, suicide, you think it's a selfless act. It's not. Suicide is a very, very selfish act. Because that pain and suffering, by default, transfers into people around you, people that love you. And even if you think nobody loves you or cares about you, it's gonna spill over, and it creates more pain.
I remember, like, I didn't really share any of this with any of my family because I was, like, very embarrassed. This is also part of it. There's a sense of embarrassment that comes with it. You, like, feel pretty ashamed of yourself. It's nothing to be ashamed of. What it is just that's how you feel. So it's not good nor bad. It's just how you feel. It just is. But the person in their mind is like, I'm such a loser, right? That's the idea. I'm a loser. I'm an idiot. Why am I thinking like this? And then that's the spiraling. And so I remember the one time I got, the cop came, and obviously they have to tell your family. And so I remember my mum saying, why would you be so selfish? And I was like, what? Like, that made no sense to me at the time. You can never tell a depressed person that they're being selfish.
Is that right?
You can never.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you just cannot tell them that because that, in their mind, they already feel like shit. Why
Hmm.
would you go and add to
Yeah.
that?
No, I feel you. I
Yeah.
feel you. Wow. Interesting. How's a You mentioned something. You said health empire. I'm gonna build my health empire.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. So tell me about that. What is a health empire?
Okay, this was huge for me because at the time I had so many injuries. Because once I did start to improve, like my mentality, my mindset, the psychology that was going on for me, and the shift that was happening, um, I started to, do more work. I started to work for a job and then another job and another job. And obviously, being in California and you're on your own, you have to work like two jobs at least. So
Yeah.
I worked
American dream is
yeah,
not cheap and not easy. Yes, for sure.
so I worked four jobs.
Wow.
And I worked four jobs from Brea to Long Beach to Huntington Beach to Fullerton. And I would drive. So my day would start at 3:30 and it would end at 10 p.m. So
Dang.
I did a lot. During that time, I started getting these like painful injuries that weren't necessarily anything extreme, but they were basically a form from like excessive whatever, excessive sitting,
Hmm.
excessive lifting when I wasn't properly warm, not stretching, not all these things. So I started getting overuse injuries, is what they're called. I started getting a lot of back pain. Like the back pain was really, really hard. Plus, I was poor, very poor, so I couldn't afford a good bed. I had like a $200 bed, which everyone knows pretty much is the floor is better than a $200 bed. So I had to I had to sleep on the floor multiple times because of how much pain I was in. I would wake up like struggling, and then I would have to down as much anti-inflammatories just to get through the day.
Hmm.
Alongside that, my posture was bad because I was sitting in the car all the time. I just wasn't prioritizing what my body needed. I wasn't eating the right way. I was on the go all the time. This is what the whole busyness, you feel like you can carry yourself with a sense of pride for it. But then I started to understand, wow, I'm working all these jobs. I'm making like better money. I can do all these things, but one, I don't have any sense of a life because all I do is from job to job. Two, I'm in pain all the time. And so I started to understand, okay, I need to do something about these things that were happening. So I took the necessary steps. I started going, I'm going to leave that job to create more time. So I did that. Once I create that more time, I'm going to start prioritizing some of the recovery methods I needed. Things like stretching, things like massage, things like getting my body to actually feel better.
Hmm.
And then the injuries that I did have, I went through rehab. So I joined the right programs. I got the right coaches to help me, you know, prioritize my body in ways that I never understood. I didn't really know that much about my spine. I didn't know much about my pelvis. I wanted to understand about like the actual mechanics of things. So I went and learned, I applied, and then while I was applying for a entrepreneurial visa so I could open my business here, I had to go back home. I went home for 7 weeks and all I did was dedicate every single day to basically building my business and building my empire, my health empire. I did a lot with psychology, so I worked with my therapist. I did a lot with physical therapists, so I could help with the recovery and the rehab. I did strength training. I did conditioning. I meditated. I did every single thing that I could do to set myself up for success. And that was a game changer
Hmm.
for when my business actually opened its doors.
Okay. Dude, it makes me want to come check out your gym because you have like a combination of everything.
Yeah, we're
Like,
like strength
yeah.
and conditioning. We have a youth program. We have everything, nutrition, the works. But that's because I basically created everything for everyone because it was everything I needed.
Wow. I love it. If I were you guys, click the link below and make sure to follow her. Make sure to sign up. 'Cause I'm gonna go check it out too. Because I know from personal experience, everything you mentioned, you can't find it in one place.
No.
You can't. I tried, but it's spread across, and you really have to put in the work, and it takes time, it takes effort. And who the hell has all that time available? And to be able to find something like that all in one place, like for me to be able to find a gym where I have a cold plunge, where I have a sauna, gym, and a boxing bag, a punching bag. Sorry, is like a unicorn.
Mm-hmm.
I'm yet to find a gym that has at least four of those, and he
Yeah.
probably has like twice as much stuff. So it's very very important. Yeah. No, that's awesome. I love that health empire. Talk to me about the therapy, right?
Oh yeah.
The juicy stuff. But in reality, it's a very uncomfortable stuff. Um, Throughout the process of you, healing yourself, what did you figure out? Did you figure out right away what was wrong with you, or what was the cause of the physical injuries and all the downfall, or your therapist helped you uncover that? Okay, now that's taking off level by level. On
Mm-hmm.
the bottom was the real cause of what
Yeah.
was killing you.
Well, for sure, I had an idea that I was like my dad. I was like him. But I
What
also,
is a like in what way? What kind of person was he?
well, so my dad's European, and every European
Oh,
father, I swear, is the same. Uh,
tell me about it.
they're just aggressive.
You can write
They,
books about them.
right? Yeah. So my dad's European. He's an incredible protector and provider, but he didn't handle his aggressiveness as much as he could have. His anger definitely like showcased itself way too often in a way that really like you start to learn that that's how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I had an anger problem because I saw him have an anger problem, but I thought it was normal. And I kind of had an idea that I was getting and picking up some of these traits, but I didn't want to stay that way. I was like, I think I'm like him, but then I'm like my mum. My mum's very soft and gentle, and she doesn't show her emotions very much. So I was like, I'm like that. So I could see a little bit of myself in them, but no one ever said you're exactly like your dad or you're exactly like your mum. So, but my therapist did. So we would sit there, and he's like, you can lay down, right? You're meant to lay down on the therapist chair, like the bed. I was like,
Well,
no,
I don't lay down. I said,
yeah, and I said that to him. I go, no, I want to sit, and he goes, most people lay down. I was like, I'm not most people. I don't know what to tell you. And I was like, I could try it. And so I laid down about 12 seconds. I sat back up and I said, no, I can't do it. I know it's part of it because there is an actual reason as to why people lay down
yeah.
because it's a way to release tension, release how you're feeling, like let go
Oh,
of control. So if you sit up, you're wanting
okay.
to still control the room. You're still wanting to control where you're at, your posture. When
Yeah,
you lay down, you're submissing basically to whatever it is that you're talking about.
that makes sense.
Yeah. But I didn't want to because I had a control problem.
I
I
don't
didn't
think
know
I
I had
would
a
want
control.
to either.
Yeah.
I don't think I would want to lay down.
You're like, maybe I should go back to therapy and lay down.
Yeah, I'll try. I'll try. And I know my therapist watches my episodes, so
Oh, you tell him. Well, I mean,
it's a
ask
her.
him. Ask her.
Yeah,
Yeah, ask her about that.
yeah.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I believe that it's really an opportunity for you to just be what you need to be in
Mm-hmm.
that moment,
Mm-hmm.
however you need to be, without trying. Like the effort is, I mean, think about it. We lay down to rest.
Yeah.
We lay down to let things go. So,
True.
um, but he also then brought that to my attention that I am trying to control things too much. And I was trying to control things because my dad controlled things. If you didn't put that there, then that was an issue. That was a problem.
Dude, our dads are so much alike, man. The more you talk about it, I'm like, do we have the same
Are we
dad?
talking about the same dad?
Huh.
Yeah. So he did uncover a lot of that for me. He uncovered where my anger was coming from, where my sense of control was coming from, where my intensity was coming from. But then he also uncovered what my mum would do and how my mum would act and what I deemed to be important, and then how they interacted with my other siblings versus me. And all of this started to really circulate and formulate, and obviously as you're getting those thoughts in your mind, you're starting to, it just kind of connects, it makes sense. So for me, it was, at first I thought it was all about other people because I thought other people were to blame. I wasn't the problem, they were the problem,
We were never a problem.
right? And so I thought, well, I'm doing everything that I can for them. I'm showing up, I'm giving, I overgive, massively overgiving. But then again, I'm probably overgiving to control them, to control the situation, to control the outcome. So it was overgiving in a sense that was probably coming from a good place, but also I had, I guess, another idea that I didn't know about, and that was if I give so much, then why wouldn't I get in return? It doesn't make sense. And a lot of the time, I carried the legwork in most things that I did. I would carry the legwork in the relationships, in the jobs, in the connections, in on the field. I would carry the legwork to make others do less. So then I had a delegation problem. You see, and so as I uncovered different areas of who I am and my characteristics, and then who my dad was, who my mom was, and the dynamics of everything, it started to make sense to me. And so that was, I went to therapy for a total, I believe, of, I think it was about 14, 15 months. Then I took a break, and then I went back for about 4 months. And he's actually over in Brea, and I absolutely love working with him. He was great. He's great. He's amazing. But it really helped me understand a lot about just what you experience, and you really are just the sum of your experiences. That's it.
Hmm. Yeah, we don't get to choose the what family we were born into, but we get to choose what we do with the backpack of garbage that's handed to us.
Yeah. I will say this, that I heard this just the other day, actually. Someone said God gave you friends as a way to apologize for your family.
Oof. Oh my God. God gave you friends as a way to apologize for your family.
I listened to that and I was
Wow.
like, yeah, wow. But then I guess, you get another apology when your friends suck and then your family steps in.
Yeah. No, but that's true because I value my friendships. The one thing I've been blessed with my entire life, and I always say that, and I will always say that. Like you mentioned earlier, you're here because of the collective effort of multiple people. To me,
Hmm.
the same thing. I don't come from, I'm not spoon fed, with a golden spoon. I don't come from rich background or amazing family. My dad was just like your dad, plus an alcoholic, plus in and out of prison.
Dang.
My dad was a drug user. I mean, I grew up seeing really fucked up shit. I mean, and the decision was on me.
Hmm.
But throughout life, what I've been blessed with is people that came along to help me out. And friends, I really value my friendships with a lot of different people. Some of them I don't talk as much anymore. Sometimes it's impossible. We're in different states or different cities.
Yeah.
But I've been always blessed with that. And along the way on this journey of self development, self mastery, I keep meeting great people like yourselves. Then I get to now, come and sit and talk to. I can't ask for more. This is a blessing.
Well,
So to me,
you're gonna remember what I just said then.
yeah, dude,
Tell your
I
friends.
will. Man, I'm gonna go back to my family. You know what? You guys are so fucked up. I'm gonna go to my friends. Just kidding. I went through that phase with the family, and my biggest demons, the biggest skeletons I ever had to face is not even from the job. It's not even seeing a dead baby or putting somebody's cursed skull back together. No, it's the shit that I dealt with when I was a little child. There's that little child doesn't grow up. It stays in you. The only thing you can do is heal that little child,
Hmm.
and that's it. But what I heard a pastor say a couple of weeks ago, or just last week over the Father's Day weekend, said, "What runs in fathers?" Sorry, the pastor said, "What walks in fathers will run in their children."
Hmm.
And I was like, thought about it. That's true. A lot of stuff that walked in my dad, it ran at me at some point too, and I had to stop it. And I realized that okay, if I don't fix my shit right now, I might have it under control, but it's walking in me. And if I pass it on to my children, it's gonna run in them, and there's no way I'm gonna do that. It stops with me.
I want to ask you a question. What good did your dad do for you?
He did a lot of good things to me. It's a good question. I'm glad you asked me that question. He taught me hard work,
Yeah.
100%. He taught me no excuses. He taught me that a man defends a woman, never gonna hurt necessarily physically, and will defend a woman and a child. So those two things he taught me.
That's so good.
Those I will never forget that. And my dad was a hard man to deal with, but hard work, no excuses, and owning up to your shit. It's evens out if not overpowers. The drinking, the
Yeah.
criminal life, the jealousy, and so I can't blame him. He had his own demons. He had a fucked up childhood and he had a fucked up life too, and he ruined my mom's life and our families. And it sounds fucked up for me to say that, but I think as a leader, my dad should have stepped up.
Hmm.
And had he stepped up, then we would have been different. And my brother would not been, a drug user at some point of his life. I mean, as a child, I saw my dad try to stab my brother, and my mom got in between. She got stabbed instead.
Mm.
And I sat there staring, and look at that pool of blood. That's the shit you're not supposed to see as a child.
No.
So yeah, may he rest in peace. He passed away a year ago. I still love him. I have no problem. I made my peace with him. I recorded a whole episode dedicated to him. But I think he should have owned up to his shit. He should have. And that's why to us right now, look at our generation, they didn't have YouTube, podcast, all these books, right? Tony Robinson, Bedros Koulians to watch. They didn't.
Yeah.
So I give them that. But we, man, depression, anxiety, like you said earlier, get the fuck out of here, dude. Go
Yeah.
read a book. Go listen to, I don't know, a podcast.
Yeah.
Do something with your life, man. You have
Yeah.
a phone. So
There's even more no excuses today than there ever
100%.
has.
Yes. Yes. That's what pisses me off when people are like, oh, I have depression, I have anxiety. You know, you're 13. Tell me what happened to you that made you depressed. Oh, your daddy didn't buy you a new car? Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Must be tough.
this is true.
This is true. This is true. Um, Another question for you that I had. I was watching one of your reels, right? As I usually do, and one of them you said this. You said your excuses are a result of you not believing in yourself.
Hmm.
I love that. So talk to me about that.
Well, I think many people have all of the justification, and the justification that they have comes from a lack of belief, a lack of self confidence. They don't actually believe in themselves. Think about what it takes to make a decision. To make a decision, you have to back yourself. Decision is affirmation that you will go ahead and you will do it. Whether or not it's the wrong decision or the right decision, that's on each person. But many people will have the excuses come up. Well, I can't right now, or I just don't have the time, or I don't have the money, whatever the reason is. And now, because this whole no excuses thing is coming up, I've heard people preface their no excuses with, I know this is just an excuse, but they'll even preface that. And I'm like, you instantly are just showcasing your insecurity. You don't believe in yourself because you have no belief. Whatever it is that you've done in the past, you've repeated it enough times for you to go, how can I believe in myself? I keep fucking up, or I keep not doing it. And so when I said that, it came up from many people constantly saying, well, I've tried it in the past, it didn't work. How many times have you tried it? Well, I've tried it several times, it didn't work. What did you do differently every time? Not that much. Okay, do you know what the definition of insanity is? So I'll ask him that thing, and then I'll say, this is what you've done. It's kind of like the person that stacks wins.
Mm-hmm.
They develop confidence. They're stacking the
Oh
wins.
yeah.
More and more confident with themselves, the more they're winning, even if it's a small win or a big win. But stacking losses is what creates even less confidence, even less belief. And if you don't believe in yourself, you're not going to believe in anything. It's going to be so hard because every single person here is really just so micro, so tiny. Like we're part of something big. Every human being, regardless of if they're good or bad, they are part of something big. You have to have that belief system of what is the big, what is the universal concept, the universal law, whatever it is that you believe in, whatever higher power. Once you have an idea that there is this huge, giant idea that we have, and we have the opportunity to live it today, we start to go, I can believe in myself to add to that, to add value to this world, to add value to this life, to add value to other people's lives, even if it's in a tiny, tiny little way. But what decisions am I doing today? Am I making today to help create that? So the excuses are stopping people from adding value. And when you don't add value, you don't believe in yourself because what is there to believe in?
Very true.
You're just shit. Like people are just, and I know this is harsh to so many, but the reason why people say you're a piece of shit is because they truly are. Like a piece of shit doesn't add value.
Mm-hmm.
No one wants to be around it. No one wants to be associated with it. They're annoying. They're frustrating. That's what a piece of shit is. So don't be one. Add value. Believe in yourself. And whatever value you bring to the table, I don't care if it's something tiny, micro, whatever it is, add belief to it and it'll grow.
What do you think comes first? Believing in yourself, and then adding value, or adding value and you start believing in yourself?
Believing in yourself first. Because how do you know what your value is unless you go, hey, like, I believe in myself. I believe I'm made for more. I believe I can do, and then insert whatever skill is, whatever talent you have, whatever passion, whatever purpose.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to have the belief system there first. You know, think about it, I guess, and this may be something you may be able to help me with, but like all these people that go to prison, what do they have to do? They have to really tap into something higher. They have to tap into themselves first because that's really, that's all they have the time to do is really understand themselves. And we've seen a lot of people come out of prison better people. We've also seen the opposite. But the ones that are better are tapping into themselves. They're starting to learn more about who they are, what they are, before they go and add value. So anyone that, this is why meditation is so like profound. This is why sitting still and creating stillness is so profound, because you start to connect with yourself. When you can connect with yourself, you start to understand that there is a piece of you that you now need to give to others. But you have to know what that is. You're not going to know what that is by just being busy or just going, yep, I'm going to go and do this because I have to, you know?
Let me ask you a question then. I'm still going through therapy, right? I made a conscious decision some time ago that I'm going to open up the closet of skeletons that I have and I'm going to clear it out. Because for the longest time, dude, I had a massive lock and it wasn't really bothering me, but it was always there in the back of my head. Because first I learned, okay, I'm gonna contain it and not let it spill out into anger and frustration and violence like I did before.
Mm-hmm.
Then I put a lock on it. And as I'm becoming older, as I'm working on myself, I made a decision to just gonna clear the whole closet out. As I'm in the process of doing it, as I'm taking one skeleton at a time, I now have probably one or two left. The real ones. The ones that fucking started it all, I guess. So now I'm kind of eager. Now I'm like, man, I really want to get this shit out. Like, I really want to deal with it. I need to make peace with it. And it's freaking hard and it's painful and it's scary, but I need to like do it. And I'm willing to do it now. Did you have to go through that, or is it a normal phase? Asking, not for a friend, for me.
Yeah.
Did you have to go through like, okay, I've done so much work and I'm not going to stop here. Like, now I really want to deal with this mess.
Yeah.
No matter how hard or scary it is. Is that something you went through?
I think that it's a great question. Yes, of course. Like, you have to, when you really nail it, when you really pinpoint it and isolate it, it's kind of like an objection. When you isolate an objection, you deal with the objection. Whatever objection that is, with a person, with a problem, whatever. When you know what the root cause is and you add like attention and energy and you just like hone in on it, because you know that that's it. Like, that's why everyone says the root cause. What's the root cause? What's the root cause? Take off all the layers of the onion. What's at the core? When you do that and you go, that's it. I have to be willing to let just let that piece be. Not let it go, but just let it be. It's where it is. It's where it was. It's happened. At what point do you let that dictate you? At what point do you let that continue to live in you? You have to just go, it's just there. It's just there. You're never going to be able to let everything go. You'll never be able to move fully past everything. Everything just is. It's just how it is. Forgiveness helps a lot with this. Forgiveness is a huge component. Many people don't want to talk about forgiveness because they want to talk about compassion. They want to talk about, well, how do I deal with this aspect of my life? It's really just about, just bring attention to it. And yes, it's going to hurt. It's going to suck. But once you bring attention to it, and it's like the whole open the closet up and just go, holy shit, this is what I've just needed to address this whole time. I didn't realize that I needed to address a lot of the things that I was experiencing. I didn't realize that I was kind of repeating behavior until someone said, what is it? Why do you keep doing that? Why? Why do you keep doing it? And I was like, because people don't do it right. I'm like, well, that's a sense of control. Why do you need to control everybody? Well, it's because I watched my dad control my mum for however many years. Like, did that work out for you? No, it didn't work out. So you, at some point, whatever it is that you or others are holding on to because you don't want to tap into it, because you know it's going to be painful, it's going to be hard, and it's going to probably cause a bit of pain, that's where everything lies. That's the root cause. And once you tap into that, all those other things were probably minute, because they were probably a byproduct of that root cause.
Playing the devil's advocate about what you just said is, but who's to say that that's it though? Because when you really work on yourself, you start getting deeper and deeper and deeper, and it's like, okay, this is it. And it's like, no, shit, there's some more. You think the process of self-mastery and fixing yourself is ever evolving, or it's like You did it. Here's a blessing. Go out there, change the world. You're perfect.
Well, I think self mastery is a understand your trauma and your triggers, heal past them, and you can never heal past anything unless you accept it and you allow it. So heal it, then just grow away from it. Grow in other areas. Self mastery isn't always about your trauma and triggers. At some point, you just got to move forward. At some point, you got to let the story go because the story doesn't matter anymore. It's about the book that's being written, right? It's like Old Testament to New Testament.
Mm-hmm.
Do you just stay in the old one or do you start to read the new one? Yeah. It's up to you. You can always tap into both. But I think self-mastery is I know where I was. I know where I've come from. I understand it. I've allowed it. Now I want to grow in as many areas as possible. Self-mastery is growing in as many areas as possible. And that's obviously in your faith, in your fitness, in your finances, all those. Yes, exactly.
Faith, fitness, finance, and family, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's the key here. So when you tap into the root cause of like all the other traumas and triggers, and you've really kind of ironed them out. Once you've ironed them out, I've ironed mine out. I don't care. Any therapist in this world can ask me a question, and I will not break down on them because I've healed. I've healed. I truly believe I've healed. And I'm confident in saying that mostly because I have spent so much time alone. When you spend time alone, you have no choice but to like look at yourself.
Yeah.
And that helps.
You'll either go crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Or you heal, dude.
Yeah. And so when you heal, you're just like, okay, so what's next? And you're like, well, I guess I should learn some shit.
I have all this free time now.
Right? Like,
yeah.
I'm not hurt anymore. Yeah. I'm not thinking about pain anymore. I'm not bothered anymore. My time can be spent elsewhere. So let's read. Let's listen to podcasts. Let's get in the right rooms. Let's get the right people. Let's start this business. Let's work for this place. That's how it happens. I think too many people live in the past.
Yeah, I agree with that. Not only that, I think two things are the biggest energy drainers and occupy the most real estate in your head. One is the one you just talked about, right? Your past. Mm-hmm. The other one is anger. It's like anger is your own punishment to yourself for somebody else's behavior towards you. Some people just always angry and always want to like talk shit or to worry about it and stay angry. Like, dude, like let go. And I'm still working on it. Because just like you, my dad was just, hair trigger type of a behavior when it comes to like his anger management. And you eliminate those two things or you minimize them, there's all of a sudden so much free time in your head. Yeah. I'm gonna go learn some shit, like you said.
Anger is sadness in disguise.
How so?
Well, they're the same emotion if you look at it. So people, someone I know does this really well. When she's so angry, she cries. I'm like, why are you crying? She goes, I'm just so angry. I'm like, I'm confused. Like, you're crying. She's like, but this is how I show my anger. I'm sad. And I was like, so I went into that. I literally tapped into that. And I thought, let me research that. I'm really hoping I'm right so your therapist can tell me. But I believe that anger and sadness is the same emotion. They're just expressed differently. One is obviously amplified because if you think about it, what happens after anger when someone comes on the downhill of it? They get pretty damn sad. They actually start to, if you were to say, hey, put down the walls for a second, what would they show you? They'd show you that they're sad. They'd show you that they're disappointed, that they're hurt.
I see where you're going with this. I would have to agree with you on that one. Just reflecting back on all the stuff that I did when I was really, really angry. Looking back at it afterwards, I was sad. I was disappointed.
Yeah. It's just that
with my own actions.
We let how amplified you get. That internal pressure that's happening, like you just feel like your blood's boiling. And so you say shit that you shouldn't say. You do things you shouldn't do. But you're really just sad inside. It's like the little child in you is sad. Mm-hmm. And the little child just doesn't want anyone to see that you're going to cry. So why not yell instead? Right? Why not hit instead? Why not do this instead?
Men do that a lot.
Of course.
We do it a lot. And that's how I've dealt with my issues throughout my 20s.
Dang.
Yeah. For 18 to 25, 26, that was me, dude. That was just that piece of shit version of me, I guess. But that was it. But part of that is also men are not taught how to express their emotions.
Yeah.
Like I was not taught. I thought, like everybody else does, man, don't cry. You just don't talk about your shit. You move forward. But then I realized that every time they got into a fight or did something stupid or express or showed violence or did something that I ideally would not do, a lot of times, with the addition of alcohol to it, especially in college, it's because of that. Is I didn't know how to express myself, and the only way I knew how to express myself was through like violence, for example. So it's sad. And now that I've worked on myself, like, oh, cool, man. It's like it's all good. Road rage. You flip me off. All right, dude. All good. Have a good day, man. Some other guy boxed me in the other day, in the parking lot, and I was like, I rolled him down. I'm like, what are you gonna do? Like, just have a good day, bro. Just go.
Yeah.
It's all right, tough guy. Like
It's
people who understand it don't really try to act this way.
And it's crazy that now the more calmer you are, the more they like get angry. They hate that you're calm because people want you to match their energy.
Mm-hmm.
People want you to amplify yourself so that they can look for something because they're looking for a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking for you to change you to accommodate them, which is unfortunate.
I dealt with that a lot on the
Oh,
force.
I bet.
Yeah, that they try to piss you off. It's like,
And they do it on purpose, which is
Oh, yeah.
crazy.
oh yeah,
It's like, but in their mind, they think it's okay. I don't think that anyone truly does it in a way to be bad. I think that in their mind, they think, well, if I do this, it's going to cause a good result somehow.
well, some of them do it for the show, right? We all know World Star, YouTube, right? We
Yes.
all know that. Everybody
Mhm.
wants to go viral at the expense of what I call a police lottery winning. You just try to control your emotions and not fall victim of that, and that happens a lot. But any job, any person, anybody who's a professional, if you allow your emotions get in the way, I mean, it's not like I can imagine you having a bad day, walk into the gym and start screaming at all your employees, for example.
Yeah.
As an adult, as an emotionally mature person, you gotta be able to hold yourself together. That's hard.
Yeah, it is. It is hard. But as I said, no one is out there truly being like everyone's controlled by something. So whether it is that someone told these people, "Hey, try to get a viral video out of this. Like this will be epic for you." Someone's told them that. Everyone's just a sum of whatever they're led to believe. And you really whatever you believe to be true, you're going to go and act upon that.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing happens with war. Someone's told them to do this for the greater good. Somehow, there's a greater good in this. People aren't good or bad. They just are.
I would challenge you there, my friend. I think some people are pure evil. I've had the pleasure of meeting these people. I think some people are, and I'm a believer in nature versus nurture.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think children are born, racist or selfish. Or I mean, yes, you have some genetic predispositions, some trauma, some physical, chemical imbalances, like people like what's his name, Ted Bundy and stuff like that. Right? Clearly evil, because sometimes you study their brains afterwards and their patterns of behavior, right? And you realize, okay, that person has something messed up or like cancer. That's why right now the field of studying the brain itself versus behavioral therapy is not as developed, but they're realizing, hey, people who have like Alzheimer's or violent or tendencies or serial killers, their brains are like shrunk or damaged. But there are people out there who are pure evil, Snaz, and I tell you that I've seen that with firsthand experience. I've dealt with these people, and as fucked up as it may sound, I think some people just don't deserve to walk the earth and breathe this air. And
Do you think that they were born that way?
I can't say they were born that way because obviously I didn't see their skull. I didn't do a image of their brain. But patterns of behavior speak a lot.
Absolutely.
And when your actions have certain patterns over and over and over and over again, even to the people who never deserve that kind of violence or pain, regardless if you have something wrong with your head or not, I think you're evil. You can see it in their eyes. I've seen people whose eyes just don't lie. And I don't think your brain damage necessarily gives you that sadistic look, for example.
Yeah.
I just don't believe in that.
I understand that they become evil. I do not believe that anyone.
So nurture.
I
nature.
don't believe that anyone came into this life because that's just not what God wanted. He created life to be good. I think that people were just they were either raised wrong, around the wrong people. Your brain is developed, and as it's getting developed, your starting to wire it in a certain
Mm-hmm.
way.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, they were probably just in the wrong environment, wrong experiences to wire it to then become evil.
Yeah.
So I do believe that there is evil out there, but I don't believe that anyone starts off that way.
No, I agree with you that unless you again like you have some kind of issue with your brain, you don't start off that way.
Yeah. So I think that's what I mean with that.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. It really is, because there's a lot of suffering.
But you see now, the issue is not so much, like I said, for example, when I worked in the ghetto, right? It was kind of sort of black and white, right? You have the gangs, you have the certain groups, and you have the police, and fuck the police, and we know them and they know us, and this is the world, right? We're after them, they're after us. There's like common ground understanding. Now you have just this pandemic of mental health issues. Now people do shit that completely unprovoked and violent out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, I'm sure you see the news, you hear the stories, right? You know, walking in and shooting a girl, or punching a lady at the bus stop, and she ends up falling and hitting her head and dying, like unprovoked. So I have a hard time explaining that kind of behavior. Besides, okay, mental health,
Mm-hmm.
but the issue at hand is what was first, mental health or drugs? The drugs called mental health, or the mental health caused drugs, or it's both of them combined? Is the chicken or the egg?
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
And that's where the problem really come into play. Because when you have the good guys and the bad guys, and by good guys I mean, I don't want to call cops good guys, right? But let's say when a gangster agrees with a cop that we both have an issue now, and it's a mental health issue, then you know things are going bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I had this conversation. I know a couple of guys who I sat down with. I'm on this side of the law, they're on that side of the law, and they're like, "Yeah, man, one thing we can agree on is this fucked up out there right now
Oh,
when it
for
comes to
sure.
mental health."
Yeah.
That, yeah, that's just my 5 cents on it.
I appreciate that.
I did have a question for you. Another question for you. You talked about the identity crisis, right? The first stage that you went through when you were around 18 years old, struggling with identity and the whole thing. Talk to me about that.
Mm-hmm.
I still struggle with like what do you call that syndrome where you don't think you're good enough? We all as entrepreneurs and coaches struggle with that.
Yeah.
What do you call it? There's a name for it. I forgot. Imposter, right? So I struggle with that, but I never struggle with the identity as far as like, who am I? Am I a man? Am I a woman? Am I gay? Am I straight? Or am I certain one way or the other? But I know a lot of people nowadays do, especially nowadays when you have this spectrum of God knows how many different genders we have. I lost track. And I think it's way overboard. Like
Yes,
we
I
talked
agree.
about earlier. You take anything and you amplify it and you go overboard with it, it becomes nasty. So what was your experience with that, and how did you overcome it, or what was your issue?
I think because I tried to be like so many people, I don't think that helped. Now, I wanted to be like my brother because he was so successful at his sport. I just wanted to
At
be
any sport?
he was successful at soccer.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to be successful at soccer. I was like, okay, I need to be successful so then my dad will appreciate and love me more.
Sounds like your brother is a very important figure in your life.
Yes, he is. Yeah. He's
Okay.
he's the shit, basically. He's
Okay.
he's it. He's
Okay.
it.
Sounds like a good guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He made some of the hardest decisions of his life, and I watched him do that, and I remember him struggle really hard to let go of his professional career. Like he toured the world. He was phenomenal. But I watched how much my dad loved that. Like he would go to every game. He would watch him. He was about it. He was all about it. And I just wanted that. So I wanted to be like that. And so, I feel like for me, it was like, okay, I want to be my brother. So that was hard for me because I wanted to be everything that he was. And then my sisters, they were good. Like they weren't anything extravagant. Just an everyday, person that
How
was.
many siblings total do you have?
So I have two sisters and a brother.
Older brother, right?
Yes.
Sister's older too? Or?
Yeah, we're all born within 5 years. So
Okay.
very fast. Me and my sister, the closest one, is only 11 months apart.
Okay.
So, but they went to school, so they were studying. My brother was at this point, on track to play in Europe and play in Germany and things like that, where they were just going to school. So, I mean, they're not very inspiring to me at that time, which, sport was more inspiring for me. And I didn't like school that much. So I think for me, it was more about like, who do I have to become to get that love? Do I have to become my sister, who's the princess, which I don't vibe with? Do I become like my brother, who's the prince, who my dad does vibe with, and my other sister's just in the middle. She's just kind of like, she's good, she's nothing great, I guess, at the time.
Yeah.
Right? Because we carry these achievements as a badge of honor. Like this,
Yeah.
you're gonna love me more if
Yes.
I have all the trophies, right? You're gonna love me more if I come first, or if I play, or if I score, or whatever. You start to become that identity. So that's what I mean when it comes to that. And I think I just wanted to be successful. Like I wanted to make it on TV. I wanted to play on TV. I wanted to win a championship. That's all like. I was so fixated on that. I was like, I have to be a championship player on a championship team. That's who I have to be, not me. So then I become like, everything was about wearing the jersey. Everything had to be like my last name on the back of it with my brother's number underneath that. Not my number, but his number. So then I got attached to all of that.
Try to wear his shoes.
Yeah, would never fit, but yes. I went to his training sessions.
Mm-hmm.
I went and watched what he did. I tried to learn as much as I could, but I think that sold me more on everything about him that I wasn't. I needed to be who I was, but I didn't really know who that was. And then so, I think that was a really hard point for me where I started to understand, like once I figured out that I'm the youngest, I'm the black sheep, I have so many different characteristics and traits about myself that I can offer to people. I empower people, and I love to make an impact and bring some intention to my life and to others. And that's who I have to be. Now, the whole concept of like, I guess all these pronouns and all this shit that's out there, I don't agree with it, but I don't care about it.
Okay.
I don't feel like I have a voice about it. It just is what it is. It's all noise to me. I understand that that God put a man on the earth first and then a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And a woman was created from a man. That's the truth. There's nothing to argue about it.
So do you believe in the God's theory of creation of Earth or the scientific theory of evolution?
I believe in God.
Okay.
And I believe that I think there's science for sure to everything. There has to be an explanation.
Mm-hmm.
But I also believe that God created science.
You know what? I do too. Yeah.
It makes sense to me because I'm like, well, without man, there couldn't be science. Like he had to put a brain in someone.
Yeah.
He had to create the thought patterns. He had to create all of this. And then it had to make sense to people. So there needs to be an explanation, right? Because we all require an explanation for everything. So I think that when it comes to that idea, I'm more than willing to stand up to a baby boy. I will not stand up to a man that has more to say and has a bigger sense of life, especially if I'm not there. I understand my place in this world, and I'm not willing to become like this like hardcore feminist. I don't need to be that. I just need to be who I am.
I think that's the wisdom that's talking in you.
Probably.
And I think it's that, and the fact that you are just, we both come from the European backgrounds, and maybe it's cultural as well, but people who both men and women, when they start to mix the boundaries and not know where their place is, especially for men, there's a lot of men out there who act a certain way, but in reality, on paper they ain't worth shit. And I might make fun of these a lot of feminists out there who say absolutely ridiculous things, but when I talk to men, I'm like, man, you need to own up to your shit. Like behind closed doors, like if you want to be the man that you say that you are, you need to fucking do the work. And interestingly enough, my fiance, she figured out how to make me better and how to approach me without irritating and making me angry, but making me want to change. Because she always says, this is her signature phrase, like, babe, you did this is that. The man that you're trying to become will not do that. And I was like, fuck, man, like I can't even argue with that. Like she's right, because the man that I'm trying to become will not react a certain way, or will not say this, or will not write that comment. Right? I'm not perfect, so I'm like to check myself. Like, God damn, she's fucking right.
Yeah, she is. But also if you were to say that to anyone, the person you're trying to become would not react like that.
Yeah.
So I think it comes down to like, who do you want to be, and what is that? Like, who is it? What is it? The how will show up. But anyone can ask that question to anyone. And if there are many, yes, there are a lot of people that have a lot of opinions, But I think they're just narrow-minded. I think you have to open your mind to life. There's a way for everything. There's a way for anything. Now, like how you want to be is really up to you. You have a choice every day how you want to be. And you just, all of your habits, all of your behaviors are here today, but you can change that. You can change your future tomorrow and the future you, whatever it is that looks like. Like you're going to know it better than anyone.
You mentioned black sheep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Use a black sheep for your family. I think that's an important topic to talk about because I know what it's like to be the black sheep. Do you know what it's like to be a black sheep? I think you already made peace with it. Pretty much me too. But a lot of times when people try to change, what happens to them? They become the black sheep.
Mm.
And then they get singled out and then get called names. And then they feel the pain. And then they want love, right, from the ones that they think are so significant in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that. How do we make peace with being a black sheep?
Oh, well, I think you got to see it as an awesome aspect. I think you got to look at it as a positive.
I definitely agree with you on that one, 100%.
Like I think it's rare to be the I guess the aspect that's different. I think it's rare to be different, and it's rare to be the one that wants to change and wants something bigger, or be something bolder. I think that you got to look at that as a superpower. It's an amazing trait to want to be different. So flip the idea that it's a negative. It's just because it's seen and felt as a negative that makes it so. If soon as you go, well, this is incredible. I'm different. And I'm so grateful that I'm different, because then it means that I'm not going to be like them. Because being like anyone is not a good thing, right? So this is why, like, you become, yes, it's actually, now it's gotten me thinking that it shouldn't be called the black sheep. You should be called like a different animal, because you're not following anything, right? Sheep follow sheep. So
the sheepdog usually, or
you're
shepherd.
right.
Yeah. Or
so I mean, I feel
sheep.
like it's almost like it should be like, instead of being a sheep, you're like a lion, right? Like they have that all the time. But I do believe that if you were to start looking at you being different as you have more courage, you have more confidence, you have more ambition, you have more drive, you start to look at it as a benefit. You start to look at it as it's good, not bad. Then I think that's a better way to accept it.
Do you think that's a genetic trait? That's a character? That's a God-given gift? What is it? Is it nature or is it nurture? Were you born this way? Was Snaz born this way, or there was a work in progress that all of a sudden just hit you one day?
That's a great question. And I don't know if I have an answer to it. It gets me thinking about the people that have it. When people say you've just
You
got
got
it.
it. Yeah, yeah.
Like what is it?
I know, huh? What is
When
it?
someone says that, you're like, wow. And I have been told that, and I'm very fortunate to have been told it by some pretty amazing people. Like, you just have it. I'm like, but I don't know what it is. And that's a hard one. So I don't know if you're born with it. I don't know if you maybe formulate it. I don't know, because I believe my brother has it, and we're from the same family, but my sisters don't have it. We're from the same family. So if it truly was a genetic thing, wouldn't every child have it?
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that it's probably at that point formulated somewhere along the way. And maybe it is a sum of like your environments or your experiences or where you have been that create it. But how do these, really influential people have siblings that did nothing? So why, I don't know if you can really call it genetic, because that, based on that alone, it's a no.
Yeah. What do you think? Well, do you think, for example, your sisters, maybe they have that, but it's buried so deep inside of them that doors are closed shut, that they would never even think about pursuing it? You think it's also a possibility,
I
or
believe,
anybody else out there?
yeah, I think so. I think if you could let down your walls and fear and ego, then maybe there is an it factor. Perhaps there is an it factor to everybody, but we're just so buried in fear, and we're so buried in guilt and shame, right? It's like the book. We're buried in
That's
those
the
negative
devil.
emotions. And so no one ever feels like they have it, because it's so deep rooted in them, and they don't even know how to find it. I mean, the way to find it is to find yourself. You have to find you before you find anything. So yeah, I guess that kind of just flips it a little bit at that point.
What is finding yourself really is.
Just knowing, like I said, who you are, what you're all about is huge. Knowing like your core values is big. Many people don't know their core values. It's kind of crazy. I'll ask people like, "What are your core values?" And they're like, "I don't know. I have to think about that." I'm like, "That's crazy. What have you been doing through your day? Like, how do you get through your life?" I guess that's the whole robotic mindset, right? We automatically live, and so I think when you find yourself, you really you have that connection. So the body, the mind, the spirit. When you connect to all three, you really are connected. People are not connected; they're disconnected. That's the problem in this world. People are disconnected from who they are. And if you listen to Joe Dispenza, if you
Sure, I
listen to
love that guy.
right, if you
Yeah.
listen to any one of those people who are essentially on the route of being a thought leader, they all say the same thing.
Yes.
You have to connect with yourself.
Yes.
You
That,
have to.
that's one thing I noticed over the years as I was on my own journey of self mastery and self discovery is that all these people, all of them say the same shit.
Mhm.
And I'm like cool, maybe they're phony, right? But then you look at them, they're all successful and they're all in their own ways successful and they help other people. So like, yeah, I guess they're not lying. Maybe they have figured it out. Or maybe they're in the process of figuring out, but they're way ahead of me because I still haven't figured it out.
So the best way to figure it out is who taught them. They learned from someone.
Yes.
No one is saying anything new.
No. No.
They're just saying things from the people before them and then the people before them. You can read something from someone in the 1900s, 1800s, and it's said the exact same way,
Mm-hmm.
just slightly pivoted.
Mm-hmm.
The terminology is slightly different.
I really enjoy reading. That's why Outwitting the Devil was such a mind blowing book to me because we're almost coming up on a century soon when he wrote this book, but he talks about everything that's happening right now. And then reading him and reading Think and Grow Rich, it's like to both sides. First, he wrote a book. Which one was first, Think and Grow Rich or Outwitting the Devil?
Well, Outwitting the Devil was written in like 19.
36.
Yeah, but it wasn't
When-
released.
Correct. But
Yeah, I
did he
believe
write Think and Grow Rich before or after that?
I actually don't know.
The reason why I'm asking that question is this, right? Think and Grow Rich is basically like a blueprint of, okay, do this, and that, because this is what all the successful people did, and that's how they figured it out. And then Outwitting the Devil is like, all right, let's talk about the shit you're not supposed to be doing. And this is based on the same people that he followed and interviewed. So it's
You
kind of
know-
awesome. It gives you both perspective. It's like, do this and don't do that.
Yes, and this is crazy that I'm going to say this, but there are people that believe that Napoleon Hill was a fraud.
Fraud?
Yeah, like that he wasn't rich, that he was actually broke, multiple times.
Maybe he was. How would we know?
There's been so many people that have actually tried to take him down, but this is what we live in, right? There's truth, there is potential truth.
Mhm.
There's so much that's out there. And I remember reading this article. It was one night I was like couldn't sleep and I found it, and this guy had outlined every single thing about Napoleon Hill that sounded actually pretty legit. And I was like, oh my gosh, this would destroy. It's like putting someone up on a pedestal and then they could just come straight down.
Mm-hmm.
And it talked about how every single time he would do all these things, but nothing ever actually worked. But he claimed them to be true.
Yeah, but at some point, okay, fine. I'll give a benefit of the doubt. But then why does it make so much sense reading it right now?
I know, right?
Explain that to me. Great. The guy was a fraud. Fuck it. He wrote this, stole from aliens. Cool. But then it makes all the sense right now. Fast forward like 80
Yeah.
years into the future. Was he Nostradamus?
Yeah. Well, I
Who-
see this. It's hard to know, but I think the point that I wanted to take from that is nothing is ever as it seems. Nothing, right? Like we watch something online, and it looks a certain way. It's kind of like you said. People look at success and be like, "That you just woke up and you were successful." Nothing's ever as it seems. So even if it was or wasn't that, you have to just look at life as being what it is, and if it's more, if it's less, be unaffected no matter what. It just is.
Sounds like it's an entrepreneur in you talking right now.
Yeah.
Okay. How many years do you have in your entrepreneurial journey
Well, I've
as a
owned
gym owner and coach?
yeah, so I've owned my gym for 8 years, but I've owned also like businesses back in Australia. I think I believe I opened my first one, I think when I was maybe 2011.
What business was that?
It was just like another personal training business
Okay, so
back
you're
then.
always into like fitness and coaching, fitness and coaching,
Yeah,
that
fitness
realm.
and coaching, yeah.
Why does fitness and coach? Well, fitness is coaching, right?
Yeah,
But
well,
then
it depends.
you're more now than just fitness and coaching.
Yeah, I do a lot of training, a lot of nutrition, probably more nutrition than I do the training components, and a lot of mentality work. So the psychology behind what I do is huge. People think they start a nutritional fitness program with me, but it completely changes who they are. So it
Mm.
actually is more so a mindset, a true mindset, because everyone's a mindset coach, but this is a true mindset shift. Because everyone can give you a fitness program and a nutrition plan,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll go and do it. But then as soon as you stop, you regress back. Why? Because you didn't tap into the mindset. You didn't actually sit with the right questions. You didn't do anything else other than just your training program and your nutrition program. Again, people don't sit still and they don't do the harder work. It's the deeper level work that people are missing. So I like to give people breath work. I like to give people journaling. I like to give them an intention for the day. I like to give them some quotes to start to ponder. I actually tap into their mind way more than any other coach out there. I'm so confident in saying that because I'm the last coach that they'll ever need. They have to go to a lot of other coaches before they find me.
That's a bold statement, my friend.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I would not vibe with you like a year ago. I was like journaling, meditate, breath work,
Isn't that crazy?
skip. I'm still struggling with meditation. I am.
Well, that's because you're fast paced
Maybe a little too much sometimes.
and you do too much.
For the first time ever in years, I was able to have a proper, I believe, proper meditation session like 3 weeks ago.
And it's
And
life altering.
it was fucking like
Life
a
altering.
light bulb. I was
Yeah.
like, what? For like 20 seconds, I was still.
Yeah, it's
And it's
crazy.
funny enough, that meditation session was started off with breathing.
Yep.
I did the breathing, and I'm like, I felt like I'm inside of my own head, and it's like quiet. And I was like, "Vroom," back to reality. Thoughts. Ah, shit, I lost it.
Well,
And
that's
I've
how
been
you meant to do
craving
it.
it.
Yep.
I've been craving it ever since, dude. I was like, I need to. I want to go back and do it again. I don't know how
Yeah.
though.
That's also how you can do it is even just start with some breath work. There's a million out there. Start with any breath work and then just have time straight after it, even if it's 5 minutes to just sit still in a quiet place, no interruptions, no distractions. That's all it is. 5 minutes of breath work, 5 minutes of meditation. And meditation isn't like people are like, how do I meditate? I'm like, just sit there and think. Allow your thoughts to come in. Allow them to circulate.
Wait. What do you mean? That's totally different.
Yeah, but you
That
got
is different from everything I've been taught. That's why I have a hard time with it.
yeah, but
Okay, talk to me, girl. Come on, you're telling me this is the exact opposite.
so people try not to think in meditation.
Yeah, isn't that what the point is?
No, you can't go like 3 seconds without a thought. It's not possible.
Yeah,
You're even when you're meditating, you're thinking about meditating.
correct.
Yeah. So you're thinking.
So how do I meditate?
You just allow yourself to be completely still. Just you might bring attention. This is why there's guided meditations. So if you think about the guided meditations, they're like, okay, so bring attention to the sounds around you, the ground beneath you. What's the temperature of the room? That's a guided meditation.
Mm-hmm.
If you just go completely silent, you're going to start to go, this is what's going to happen. You're going to lay there and be like, gosh, I got to fucking get up soon. That's the first thing it's going to say. Like, oh my gosh, this is so boring. Okay. That person yesterday was such a dick to me. Gosh, I hate my wife. Like shit like that, right? This is what's going to happen. Like, why didn't she make dinner on time? Like, things are going to happen.
Fucked up thought to have. Though. Imagine if you're thinking about that.
I'm telling you, this is what your audience is thinking about, right? Anyways, whatever it is, right? Oh, that guy didn't show up on time. That's what's going on. And as you're doing this is how I love to see it. It's like the train of thought. If you haven't watched Inside Out, you got to watch Inside Out. Okay, there's a train of thought, right?
It's a movie, Inside Out.
Yeah, there's a train of thought. that comes in.
Okay.
And so you know how you have like, oh my gosh, I really went on this tangent, like my thoughts were just kept going. So it's called the train of thought. Imagine just one thought being on a train, and there's like that one compartment is that thought, and it just goes, and then the next train, and the next go, and it goes, and you're allowing things to actually come in, and then to go out. It's kind of like, oh, you know when you say to someone, hey, whatever you just said just went in through one ear and out the other ear, which is not true, but that's how you have to think of meditation. You have to think of thoughts coming in, but also going. And that's why breath work is so powerful. When you breathe in, you're breathing in the frustration. You hold it for a second, and then you breathe out the frustration. That's what a thought is just constantly. It has to continue going. You think, I think it's crazy, like 800,000 thoughts is something like crazy.
Yeah,
it's a crazy number.
Something like that.
And that's what meditation truly is. It's actually allowing yourself to be with what you're dealing with, what you're trying to understand. Because eventually you'll land at clarity. Eventually, if you do it long enough, you'll be like, this is where the most creativity is. You're actually allowing yourself to think of something and then it turns into something else. That's where creativity is.
I did notice that some of the best ideas that I had, or the solutions to the problems that were bugging me at the time, came during the times when I was like, all right, shut the fuck up, sit still, or at least give it a thought.
Exactly.
And a light bulb goes off.
And that's what I mean. And the reason why you probably found this like, oh my gosh, this was great. It's because you're like, I'm not thinking about it anymore. I don't even remember what I was thinking about before I even started this, because you let it go, and you allowed yourself to let it go. Because that's all our brains do. The neurons just fire to another, and they just create this neural pathway. And unless we actually deal with it and bring some awareness to it, otherwise it's just going to go straight to that storage unit right at the back, and the subconscious mind will build so much of it that while you're sleeping, you're just filtering, you're going through that even more. So what you think about before you go to sleep, right, is the most important part. If you think negatively before you go to sleep, you're not going to sleep well. If you think negatively when you first wake up, you're not going to have a good day. That's just because the subconscious mind is being programmed. And we act out of our subconscious mind. And this is so incredibly powerful. So you a year ago that had an ego that didn't want to do journaling, right? Now you're like, hold on, I could write some shit down. That's kind of meaningful because you said self-mastery. So you're willing to do that. Now you're writing things down and you're like, there's a lot of really cool shit here. And now I'm willing to sit by myself, which I wasn't willing to, because again, ego is just edging good out, or edging God out, however you want to look at it. If you sit by yourself, you actually get more connection with yourself. As you get more connection with yourself, you're more connected to a higher power. So you have so much more meaning. You have more self-discovery. So then you've mastered yourself more. You're like edging yourself forward at that point. And then you're not holding on to shit that frustrates you as much. But people aren't willing to do this. And I hope that even just from this alone, that some people that listen to this sit and do some breath work and then just sit still. Find some stillness. There's actually a great book by Ryan Holiday. It's called Stillness is the Key.
Stillness is the key.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's big on stoicism.
It's not easy to practice stoicism. I understand the aspect of stoicism when it comes to masculinity, and I do my best to follow it to become a better man. But I know there's a deeper level to it. Even just reading like Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, I was like, damn, there's a lot of work in it to really have to like connect to yourself and figure out who you are, and just bring meditation and all that into it. There's a whole different level about it.
You know that Jesus was stoic?
I would not doubt it.
Yeah.
You have. I mean, dude, to be the kind of person that Jesus was, to forgive people, you have to be stoic.
Yeah, he was stoic. Yeah.
So where'd you get that from? From a Bible?
I believe when I was studying stoicism, I studied it for 3 years.
So you actually studied on like a professional level, like classes, or how did you study stoicism?
I learned from a lot of like the people that did a lot of the writing. I would watch a lot of videos. I'd do a couple of courses.
Okay. Okay.
But to me it's so fascinating, and I practiced it. I practiced it very much so. This is I think this is probably the number one way for you to, I guess, propel yourself forward, like speed up your self-discovery. Practice stoicism.
Really?
It's pretty amazing because ultimately what it is learning how to be fully in control of yourself and being unaffected and unfazed by what's around you. That's the simplest way that I can explain it.
You know, it explains a lot because following you for some time, like I mentioned before, you do come off very stoic.
Yeah.
Had I not known you better,
That's
I
a
would be
great
like, man,
compliment.
she's a she's a B. But then getting to know you, listening to your story, I was like, okay, no, she's just stoic. And then now you're here, are you laughing, cracking jokes? See, look at that smile right there. Now I'm like, no, she's just a great human being who practices stoicism. So
Yeah.
it all makes sense. It all makes
Yeah.
sense.
There's and a lot of people will get that from me, right? Because at the end of the day, there's two major sides to me. Major. I have my intensity and I have my compassion. And what people call me is a teddy bear with combat boots. Because
Okay.
essentially how I show up is first with the intensity. And if you can accept the intensity, then I will give you the other side, which is the compassion. But you got to first be able to understand that the intensity to me is if I can give you the truth and you're willing to hear it, then of course I'm going to listen to everything that you have to say. But if you're going to get defensive straight off the
Mm-hmm.
intensity,
Mm-hmm.
you're not ready for my compassion. You
Ooh.
first need more slaps across the face.
Oh, I love it. No, this is a goal right there. That's true. You gotta be able to give
Well,
a little
what's your two
heat.
sides? Everyone
My
has
two
two
sides.
sides.
You know what? Crazy. To be honest with you, we're similar.
Mm.
I come off as an intense person because my thing is, and I figure out why it's what it stems from. For me, is my entire life, I feed off of negative energy. I
Mm.
figured out, and it only made sense when I read Patrick B. David's book. Choose Your Enemies Wisely. I would take that comment, that spiteful word or comment or something that was done to me. I'm like, all right, motherfucker, game on. And I will ride the wave, dude, until I get there. And like, fuck it, I've done it. Next, like, who just offend me? Like, say some shit, and I'll prove you wrong. And I didn't know that's what I was doing until I read Patrick B. David's book. I'm like, that makes perfect fucking sense. That's what I always did, and I still do it. So my intensity comes from that. Like, I hate you with the wave of like raw reality. Like I don't sugarcoat shit. But then as you get to know me, then I'll be like, all right, I trust you, you trust me. Now I'll be more vulnerable with you.
Mm.
Now I'll share my stuff with you. Now I'll give you the little soft teddy bear side of me, right? And up to this, so far only like my mom, my niece, and my sister obviously, and my wife, my fiance gets it. Nobody else does. And the people who get it eventually they'll see it. But I call it a wall, call it whatever you want to call it, but I don't give you the soft part right away, which is what I'm working on because people have told me, hey man, come in with the soft side first. And as I'm getting into my own self development, as I'm becoming wiser in this process, I'm realizing maybe it is a good idea. Give the soft side first because I don't have that ego anymore. I'll back it up. You know, I have no problem getting physical and confrontational. So why not? Why not? Hey, what's up, man? This is me. Come on, I'll give you a hug. Talk to
Mm.
me. So,
I
still
guess,
learning.
yeah. And I think it is hard though, because especially if you get the person that's coming across and very approachable, right? That what they're trying to say is become approachable. And unfortunately, that approachable means being softer, being a bit more like, your expressions are different, things like that. I guess there's good and bad to that, because some of it is like, for so long, I wore my heart on my sleeve for the longest time. I'm like, oh, you want to crush it? Go ahead. I'll be okay eventually. So for me, it was like, I think there has to be a good balance there of going, well, hold on a second. This is one aspect of me that is so important to me that really does make up a lot of who I am. And I would love to show you the other side, but I'm not going to be so easy. I think that people should have to work hard for relationships and connections. I think that you have to do some
Hmm.
work, because if you're just too easy, then what does that do? It makes you susceptible to like being taken advantage of. And
Yeah.
that's unfortunately what most people do right now. They will try to take advantage of you as soon as they see that you're a little softer, that you're a little more sensitive, that you're willing to give a lot more.
That's why I don't never done it like that.
Yeah. So
That's the number one reason.
exactly. And in a you're very giving, which is amazing, but people have to earn it. You have to earn respect.
Hmm.
What is the difference between earning someone's respect and also earning the right to have that connection and to have that level of understanding. You should have to earn every side of someone. You had to earn it with your fiance, like you had to start here and then work your way back, right? So I think
That's work.
yeah,
That's
I bet.
work, dude. Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Yeah.
A lot of, I guess my entire life, it was my way of filtering through bullshit.
Yeah.
Like I'll hit you with the real and raw. You just want to stick around, cool. Let's be friends. But if you want to fucking bounce, bounce. I don't have time for you. But again, learning to adjust, learning to adapt. And a lot of people that I met who are very giving in the beginning, they're like, all right, tell me, who are you? What are you about? Are you worth my time? And some people are like, well, this motherfucker is cocky or doesn't have things, doesn't have time. No, it's just I want to make sure if I pour into you, because I had examples of guys that I kind of coach and mentor, like their life is going downhill. Like, I know this one guy, his marriage is falling apart. He admits to it. He would cry, say, this is not the last draw. And when I go and do, like, meet me right there, right then. We'll talk. I'll coach you for free. Like, I'll do this for you. No show. Not a follow up. No show. Well, fuck, what do you want me to do? I'm not gonna come to your house, and beg you to help you with your life. No, fuck off then. Sad, yes, but I'll take my time and I focus on somebody else who wants to change, and that's the reality of life, man.
It really is.
Yeah, you can do all you want to somebody if that person doesn't want to change, they're not gonna change for shit.
Yes.
I mean, you know that. At your gym, at your coaching, at your you talked about that what the stuff you implement into your coaching program. Is that what makes you different? Because let's be honest, like in our industry, right, there's a lot of coaches out there. There's a lot of fitness coaches, a lot of self-mastery coaches, but you are different in a way. So what is it that makes you different? Besides the stuff that we already talked about, like what is your take? What is your approach?
Yeah. So, I mean, my gym is very different to what I do online, right? My gym is very much in person and it's very much about building the physicality, right? Less mentality. Yes, you'll have a byproduct of that just by going to the gym like anyone has. But the primary focus there is to enhance performance, right? We want to enhance someone's performance, whether it be they go and do events, they have a sport that they're trying to get better at. That's the gym side of things. And I have incredible coaches that help me to create that business and everything that I do there. In terms of the online and what I do differently, I add the nutrition piece in there, which I'm not a fads person. I don't like trends. I don't like any quick fixes. I like to have a more balanced approach that is sustainable, that creates a quality of life, right? I want people to not just live longer, but I want them to live a good life now. So unfortunately, we live in a world where people are either overweight and they're fat or they're skinny fat.
How dare you say that word, Snez?
I know. And so unfortunately, most people are actually skinny fat.
What's a skinny fat?
There's someone that looks like they're okay, right? But if they did an in-body scan or a DEXA scan, it would show they have like 30 or 40% body fat, which is way too much.
Makes sense.
But their weight on the scale doesn't really show that, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. I do.
They're an okay weight.
My scan.
They're in their BMI is okay. But at the end of the day, when they actually go and get a body composition scan, the scan does not tell us that they're actually healthy. Because the more muscle you have, the better quality of life you're going to live, right? Plus
Fact.
longer. It's a fact. Most people don't have a lot of muscle on their body, but the scale might say that they're okay. So you go to the doctor's office and they put you on their terrible scales that are never accurate. And it tells you, you're good, you're okay. Or you're obviously overweight. Then you go, okay, well, I better get my weight down. So people go on weight loss journeys with the pills, the injections, the trends, the fads.
The shortcuts.
The shortcuts just to drop their weight down. I don't like to do any of that. I like to give them a much more detailed, more customized approach so that they can actually build more muscle, lose more fat.
Yeah. No, I definitely believe that. When I started my journey, it took me about a year. When people saw the results, I had like a before and after. The amount of comments about, what are you on? How much TRT are you taking? Oh, you juicing? You must be juicing. First of all, I'm not no fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger. Let's be honest about that. Second of all, No, it was nutrition, discipline, and sleep and working out.
Yeah.
But if when I start TRT, it's gonna be fucking game over. Like it's gonna be a whole different level, and I haven't even started TRT yet. But like you can accomplish so much just through what you said: nutrition, proper fitness, rest and recovery.
Yeah. I have to touch on this. My brother is 43, and his testosterone is through the roof. It's incredible.
Naturally.
Naturally. You know why?
Mm.
Because he's out in the sun all the time. If people sat in the sun more, they would increase their testosterone. Number one. Number two, he never misses a workout. Goes every day. Number three, he challenges his mindset. So he's always growing. He's always like pushing himself. He's also a father, so there's no reason for him. He has his own businesses, so there's stress there, but he controls his stress. He manages his stress, and he prioritizes his sleep. He does cold plunges. He does the sauna. TRT is for people that aren't willing to do the work. Fact.
Oh, I gotta talk smack, dude. You're
Because
ruining my dreams about TRT
how
right
old?
now.
How old are you?
35.
Come on.
I'm thinking 40, so my goal is like 40.
Go at 50. Push it as far back as you can.
Well, the reason why I'm saying this is a few of my friends who are just absolute beasts in the fitness industry, and also like guys that I work with, different departments, different tactical units, SWAT, special, from the military background as well. They're on TRT, and they're have a lot of good results. Not to mention that you can take TRT and not work out, and you're still gonna be a fat slob. 100%. I know a few guys like that too.
Yeah.
Made no difference. But the guys that already are fit, eating clean, working out, trained, and are, TRT, I mean, they have really good results.
They have,
But-
yeah.
Yeah. But I
They-
haven't started. Never tried.
It's more that once you start, you can't stop. That's obviously one of the main
Yeah.
issues. But I also think if you can prolong it as much as possible, it's a game changer. I had a client. He's 63. His TRT levels were still. His testosterone levels were still fine
Yeah.
because he prioritized the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but also now, like, women are taking it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just stupid. Like, just manage. If people manage their health better, they wouldn't need it. And especially guys in their 30s would not need it.
Yeah.
In your 30s, you should not need TRT. Unless there is literally a medical issue going on. That's different. But they shouldn't need it.
But you know what it is for me? It's sleep. Every time, because I do blood work at least twice a year, every time my T gets low, when I fix sleep.
Game
back.
changer, right?
Yeah, game changer. Sleep is like my kryptonite.
What if you actually started meditating more?
You know what I will? I really am. After this interview, I'm gonna ask you about some breathing techniques, because I believe it was that particular time was the breathing that helped me get into it. So I definitely will.
Like stress is a killer for everyone, right? Stress is honestly one of the major issues that people are facing, because it's creating heart attacks, it's creating strokes, it's creating bad behavior.
Dude, I got shingles from stress last month.
Yeah,
I had no idea. I had no idea stress causes shingles.
Yeah, it does.
Which was absolutely fucking horrible.
Yeah.
That sucked.
Yeah.
And I learned that it's from stress.
So think about that. Stress and lack of sleep. Those two major killers to like hormonal health. Just hormonal health. You can't also outwork your hormones. Like if their hormones are going down, like it doesn't matter how many times you go to the gym, right? You have to tackle the things that are more on an internal level, which is going to be, you sleeping better, you managing stress, and then, you have to really prioritize your nutrition. It's a game changer.
Yeah, nutrition is definitely a game changer.
I think many people would do way better and not go for the TRT so quickly. I'm not saying that there isn't a place for it. I think there's a place for everything. But I think that people are reaching for it a little bit too quick.
Yes, I do too. The only reason why I'm open to TRT is because I understand how food industry has ruined masculine, men's T levels, because the food that we eat is absolute garbage. I mean, it's nothing but plastic and some processed crap. That's just made your hormones go crazy. So that's the only reason I'm open to TRT. Otherwise, I don't take any supplements. I don't juice. I take like natural supplements, protein, some creatine, some regular supplements, pills, fish oil. Other than that, no injections, none of that. And I really don't believe in it. I think you can fix it with sleep and proper nutrition.
Yep.
So we did it for thousands of years, man. We're here, right? We survived.
It just takes work. That's just it. It takes work. People don't do the work. So they go for the easier option.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. And now we live in a world where easy is just so like it's accessible everywhere.
Convenient.
It's convenience, yeah. It's 100% convenience.
What do you think the biggest obstacle across the board that you see with your clients?
The biggest obstacle is stress. Most of my clients though are business owners, leaders. They are people that have a lot of responsibility and they really have to show up for their teams, their businesses, whatever it is. So they have a lot more stress than the average person. The average person stresses about, I don't know, getting out of bed on time. These people are stressed about 400 employees that
Yeah,
need to pull their weight. There's a big difference in terms of that level of stress.
definitely.
So, I think that across the board of my clients, yeah, they have deadlines. They have and then not only that, but they have the career path, the professional stress, but then they have the personal stress. Well, I've got to also do this for my family. And they work a little bit more than the average person. So, and a lot of the time when they are working, they're performing. This isn't a job where they go to a cubicle and just sit in front of a screen. This is a job where they have to show up for something, major deals, major, contracts, whatever it may be that they need to kind of show up for, but they need to actually perform well. They have to have presentations set. They have to have preparation in wherever they're going. Like people just wake up going, "Oh, I got to get to work at 9." That's it. That's not stress. That's first world problems right there. Because one, you have a job, and you get to have a start time. How does that feel? Starting work at 9. I've already done 4 hours of work by that point.
How many hours a week would you say you work on average?
Oh, like probably like at least 50, 60. It just depends,
Yeah.
right? Like, I mean, work doesn't really stop for me. I can stop, I will pause, but it doesn't really stop. I don't think any entrepreneur ever stops working.
There you go. Yeah. That's
They just maybe like have a coffee sometimes.
What is it? What's your regular day look like? Like, what time do you wake up? And is there a snaz routine in the morning?
Oh
Is
yeah,
there
yeah.
midday or night routine? Like, what?
Yes. Every morning I wake up at 5. The very first thing I do is read The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday.
Oh, I love that channel.
Yeah. So I read that. And then after I read that, I journal. And then after I journal, I will check like my to-do list for the day. Like what do I need to do that day? So by the time that has happened, it's already been like probably 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. It's a very short routine because I have shit to do. So I will then start going, okay, like for me, I'm very, very, my presence is right off the bat. So I'll start getting on social media and start posting what I want to post and what messages I want to share with the world. So first I sit with myself, like what message do I want to formulate and share with the world today? So as I'm sitting there and I read, you should always read to learn about the world and you should write to learn about yourself. So I
Mm-hmm.
do both of those first and then I can present something. So then I go and present something and then I'll go prepare my day for whatever I need to do and I'll go straight to a workout and then I'll go on client calls. And then I'll usually take one break in the middle of the day to do breath work, do more client calls, and then I'll finish. I'll get back on the social media to wrap up whatever I need to wrap up. And then I get off screens about 60 minutes before I go to sleep. If I do stay on screens, I'll wear some blue light blockers.
Mm.
Then I will stop eating at least 2 hours before I go to bed. And I get off. I have a hard no on screens as well after like 8 p.m. And then I'm in bed by like 9.
9.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, so you do get decent sleep. You get like 8 hours.
I get probably 7.5 is pretty consistent. Like proper sleep. Like you're laying there and you're just trying to like lay asleep and things like that. So I think depends, right? Because I have the Aura ring, I have the Whoop band, so they tell me how my sleep
Mm.
was. They tell me I sleep for like 7 hours and 16 minutes on average, but I'm like, it's weird because I'm in bed at 9 and I wake up at 5. That's 8 hours to me, but according to them, that's how much I sleep. But to me, as long as I wake up feeling rested,
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Yeah. No, tracking sleep is very important. It made a lot of difference for me.
Yeah.
So I start tracking my sleep and like eating heavy, like steak before I go to sleep or drinking. I'm like,
Oh yeah,
damn,
no.
you can't argue with data. My sleep sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I just want to know like how many hours of sleep you get a day. So because we talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to prioritize that more. Dude, well, I think we had a great conversation.
Same.
You know,
I've really enjoyed this.
yeah, we should do this again.
For
You
sure.
know, I do have a question that I always ask everybody here, and this is how I close out the episode because I always want to know. It's a two-part question. And the question I always ask is this: what do you think is the purpose of life, and how can a person find their purpose in life?
Okay. Great questions. The purpose of life is to serve. So it's a simple answer for me. Whether it is you're serving people in your life that you have, the community that's around you, or a bigger audience, you have to serve in some manner. You are not here to live and be selfish. You're here to be selfless. So serving people is the purpose of life. And to find your purpose, you have to know two things. What is your talent and what is your passion? If you know your talent and you know your passion, you put them together and that is your purpose. So something that you're passionate about and then something that you're talented with.
So purpose equals talent plus passion.
Yeah. And if you want the extra piece, it's essentially it's the talent plus the passion, and you times it by your association. That's how you can actually put your purpose into play.
The network, you mean?
Yeah. Association, you have to associate with something. You
Mhm.
can't just have because everyone be like, I'm really talented with this and I'm really passionate about it. Go, okay, who are you going to put that to? Where are you going to take that? That's your association. The association is the missing element to what people are lacking. Because if you think about it, people could be great at a skill. They could have an incredible talent of singing or playing an instrument. And they could also be really passionate about it. But what about if they don't take it anywhere?
Mm-hmm.
Your association could be social media. I'm going to start putting it in this association. That's how you can get success, though, out of your purpose. So everyone has a purpose. Not a lot of people do anything with it, though.
Yeah, don't let your gift die with you.
Yes.
I believe in.
Ouch. That would hurt.
Yeah. Michael, as I always say, most men live life of quiet desperation.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
I like that.
That changed my life. When I realized, I was like, fuck no,
Dang.
not me. Never. Yeah. Dude, that was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing. I want you to tell my guests, my audience, how to find you. Because I think you have a lot of value, you bring in a lot of value, and you change people's lives out there. So let them know how to find you.
Yeah, so I'm pretty big on Instagram mostly. That's the easiest way, which is just Snez V, which is SNEZV. I'm usually the first to come up there because of my name.
One and only.
Yep. And then I have a website. It's just snezv.com. So that's also an easy way to find me. You can also find me at my gym's name, which is Ausletics, which is Australia and Athletics put together. So AUSLETICS. You can find me on any of those platforms. I'm also on YouTube. I'm also on Facebook. And I'm also on Instagram, like I said.
Yeah, it's hard to miss you. Usually tell them how it is. 6 in the morning. Just
6 in the
out
morning,
there.
6 in the evening.
Yeah.
Every day.
Twice at 6 a.m., 6 a.m. Good. You like schedule your posts or you just.
No, I literally go in and do it. Like I'm the person
I
that's
know,
like,
'cause I'm like,
it's 6 a.m.
Yeah, Instagram doesn't have that pre-schedule feature. I was like, she finds time.
I think they're adding it.
Really? Because YouTube has that, but I don't think Instagram has that.
You know what? Even if they did, I still wouldn't use it.
That just shows you discipline.
I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes I miss. I think I missed.
Yeah.
I went at 6:06 the other day. I was like, holy moly, what am I thinking? But I show up for me, right? Like I show up because I made a promise to myself. And if it helps someone, just one person, I'm doing something good.
Does it hold you accountable?
Yeah, definitely. But I think at this point, it's no longer accountability. I think at this point, it's just become so ingrained.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even a habit. I'm like, I know it's 6 a.m. I got to post. I know it's 6 p.m. I got to post. Sometimes I even post again at 12 just because I wanted to just like I'm like, oh, let me test myself.
Got a mic drop right here. Boom. Watch it.
So, but yeah, I like it. I like being the start and the end potentially of someone's day, or depending on where they are in the world,
Yeah.
the middle.